Hello and welcome back. I am Shin, and today we are covering the changes for version 0.16.0. And this is the second part of that. The first one was with the major and minor features that were added. This is just the changelog. So if you haven't checked out the first episode, please do so. I will link to it right here. So the changes that they have enacted in this version are as follows. They have disabled loading of saves before version 13. So if you have a previous to 13, like a 12 or 11 save that you still want to be able to get into and check out and play once in a while, you will need to load it in version 13, save it in that version, and then you can save it and then load it back up into 16. So keep that in mind if you do have some older saves. Train doesn't need to come to a full stop when manually changing train destination or switching from manual to automated mode. I think that's huge change, and something that kind of annoyed me going when I would start in manual and then say, okay, where am I going here? All right, there I am, and I hit the button to go to automatic to a station that I want to go to, and then all of a sudden it would stop. Kind of annoyance, more so than anything. Removed the shift value from map generation settings as it wasn't needed anymore. I'm not sure exactly what the shift value is, but I guess I don't need to find out since it has been removed. Creating blueprints and using deconstruction planner in zoom to world map mode now skip entities covered by fog of war. And that makes sense to me. I don't think you should be able to place things down in a place that you have not explored yet. Changed the default autosave interval settings from 2 to 5 minutes. Seems pretty reasonable. I think 2 is a little bit too much, too often. It is possible to open, close, and interact with the chat console when the map is being saved or the server losing connection dialog is active. So that'll help those of you in multiplayer maps that want to chat while things are going on with the server that you can't control. Might be able to help troubleshoot or find out what the problem is. The game uses only the cloud version of the player data and achievements on Steam to avoid problems with resets. So I guess that will clear up some problems that some people were having. Increased the limit of recipe categories from 255 to 65,535, and that is a lot of recipe categories. So I'm not sure what would use that, but hopefully we don't get a 65,000 recipe categories. That would be insane. New blueprint no longer includes entities marked for deconstruction. So I don't know that I've ever blueprinted something that was marked for deconstruction to see if it was on there, but I guess it did work previously, and it no longer does. Enable map exchange string for sandbox games. So you can now exchange your maps and play on the same map in a sandbox game, which will be a welcome change, I do believe. Copy paste from assembler to requester chest now scales with assembler speed and recipe crafting time. So, that should be I guess, that's why it's a minor change, because I don't know that I've ever run into a problem with that, but if I did and didn't realize it or just thought it was something you couldn't do, now I can. Blueprints never show the number 1 when held in cursor. Again, I guess maybe that's by the name. I'm not sure what that is changing. I don't know that I've ever seen a number 1 when holding it in the cursor. Maybe I did and just didn't. Maybe it meant there was one, like you had one thing in your hand. Maybe I did see it and just ignored it. Not sure. Robots in the air from personal robe report now count toward logistics request for that robot type. Added server save command that does the same thing as Lewis server save but doesn't disable achievements. So that's cool. With Steam, that's a problem. Any kind of mod that you have with Steam, it automatically disables achievements no matter what the mod is, even if it's not really game-changing. So, that's one less thing to disable those achievements. Game save names in the load game dialog that are too long to fit in the GUI now show in a tooltip in full. Removed the option to turn off the item groups and subgroups from the GUI. it can still be done through the config file or Lua commands. Let me read that one more time, as it was kind of not read well. Remove the option to turn off the item groups and subgroups from the GUI. It can still be done through the config file or Lua commands. Added separate control option for placing tags on the map. So by default, map scroll is left click and place tag is right click. So that is kind of a welcome change. I've definitely clicked in different areas of the map and got that dialog box up and had to cancel it out. So that will be a welcome change. Allow easier dragging of underground pipes and belts when not moving in a perfectly straight line. So I've definitely done that before, where you jump over to one block next to where you're trying to place them accidentally when you hit a tree or you hit a something else and can't run past it. So that's definitely a welcome change. Hopefully it will help for the better. The arithmetic combinator can now use a constant as the first parameter, not only the second. So you can now do operations like 2 to the power of signal. When building blueprints, any already existing building of the same entity type will have their settings updated instead of showing red. The options menu has been organized better. Some options were moved to a new interface setting menu. Updater proxy settings were removed from the menu. They can still be accessed through the INI file. Exchange strings are now compressed before being converted into base 64. Improved GUI search. Added delete blueprint library player command to remove blueprints of players from the game. Not sure what you would use that for. Maybe that's if you want to just make a new blueprint library, like if you want to clear it out. Like now we have some changed recipes, so if you want to just delete all of your blueprints in one shot, maybe that would be a good feature for that. I'm not really sure what you would do. Maybe in multiplayers, I know they share blueprints, and if you don't want your blueprint shared, maybe that would do that. I'm not 100% sure. The options, exchange strings are now compressed before being converted to improved GUI search. I lost my spot. Okay, the map view will attempt to treat very short clicks as clicks instead of drags to make it easier to click things. Whew, that's a tough one. Alright, the explosive cannon shells now target the ground where you shoot. I guess that's instead of having to target a specific item in the world. Transition from terrain to water is no longer buildable, meaning entities can no longer be built partially on the water. And that was covered in a Friday Facts a while ago. Resources will have much less trees on them near the player's starting area. And that was a big complaint. A lot of people spending a lot of time chopping trees right in the beginning. Tanks no longer take minuscule amount of damage from hitting trees. Previously, buildings, while running at very high speed, would create gaps. These are automatically filled now. Locomotive will show train ID in its tooltip. The ID can be used in circuit network conditions. When two trains are being merged, the decision which schedule should be used for the merged train has been changed from bigger schedule to that schedule that has the last changes. Number of entities in the hand when previewing the entity to be built is now aligned to the entity. Added sliding when the player character collides with water or entities with a rotated bounding box. Not sure what that means exactly. Maybe we'll see it in game. Improved drawing of turret radius in Blueprint. Many overlapping radiuses no longer cover terrain completely. External Blueprint library is no longer merged with Blueprint library in save. Instead, in save library is always overwritten by the external one. Bug fixes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this very quickly. I'm not going to elaborate on too much of it. I'm just going to try to get through this as quickly as possible because it gets very, very long. So, and I want to get to the optimizations. I think that's pretty, that's what one of the things that everybody's really looking forward to is optimized factory. So, fix the train arriving. No station could give astronomically big penalties, causing trains to go through weird places. Fixed the fluid wagon. Pumps would sometimes not connect properly. That's a problem I've had pretty often with oil being delivered, and it just sits there not emptying anything out, waiting for it to get that empty condition before it moves on, but never getting it because the pump wouldn't connect correctly. Fixed that module icons and blueprint previews wouldn't render correctly in some cases. Fixed long mod manager preview labels would extend out of the frame. Fixed that the tilde key couldn't be used to close the console. Fixed that the mining progress was reset with mining selection is lost while mining button is pressed. Catalyst and recipes are automatically recognized and not counted toward production consumption statistics. Fixed that ghost rail signals emitted light. Fixed that different icon sizes were not scaled properly when drawn in the alt info mode. Fixed latency sound effects and multiplayer latency hiding would sometimes play too many times. Fixed that errors in fonts would give useless errors. Fixed problems related to trains crashing rarely. Disabled possibility to attempt opening invalid save replay by double-click enter. UTF-8, BOM, and JSON, INI, Lua files will be ignored instead of causing parsing error. Fix that clearing all blueprint icons would cause entire blueprint to be cleared without warning. I am not going to go through all this. I am going to skip up to the optimizations. There's just too much stuff in there, and it's just, kind of arbitrary. Like, if they're fixed, we're not going to see them anymore. I guess if you really want to know if a certain bug that you reported was fixed or not, please go through this on your own. It is on the forums. So I'm going to go to the optimizations because I think that is a big portion of what we're hoping to have in this new version. So the optimizations that they've done are improved performance of transport belts by about 5 times. So that is really huge. The belts have previously really lagged people out, and when you get into large bases with lots of belts, a lot of people just delete their bus and stuff like that because of that. So this should really, really, really help those larger bases using belts. Added prefetching of the next entity in a update loop, improving overall update performance by approximately 10%. Improved performance of item manipulation, 4% effect on overall performance. Improved performance of crafting machine, furnaces, assembly machines, etc. 2% effect on the overall performance. Improve in performance of electric network transfer more than twice. So the electric network is working 2 times better, which is a 10% overall effect on the game. Improved performance of smoke greatly, 2.5% more effect on big factories, and more effect on big factories. So disabling smoke is a thing that a lot of people do on large factories. So this might allow people to work with smoke and have those better graphics. Improved performance when building rail blocks with many segments. So I know that a lot of you probably have seen that when you put a lot of rail down, all of a sudden all your whole game lags out as all your trains try to recalculate the new route that's available to them. Improved performance when building improved performance of logistics provider and requester chests. Improved performance of blueprint previews, the GUI, and holding it in the world. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I certainly have on larger maps where you hold that blueprint in your hand and try to move, and it's all lagged out. So that should hopefully be a little bit better now. And finally, improved game performance, game startup time when sufficient. Let me try this again. Improved game startup time when sufficiently powerful computer is detected. So you should start up quicker. Now, I'm going to be honest, I've started the game in 16 several times now, and I did not notice an improvement on my computer. I'm using a Mac with an i7, 3.2 gigahertz processor, I believe, which is, it's not the latest. It's a year and a half oldish, but, it's an i7, and I think it should be significantly powerful, and I did not notice a difference, but maybe it's just, maybe it's the RAM speed that's the bottleneck, maybe it's something else. Let me know in the comments below if you're seeing a difference in the startup time of your game. I appreciate you tuning in, and my name is Shin. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I will see you next time. Thank you.